Good morning, everybody. I hope you can see my screen and I hope you can hear me very well. Uh, so let's get started. See, you hear a lot of statements which bring cloud, open source, developers, and innovation together. What does that really mean? What does that really mean to you? I mean, in the next few minutes, my objective would be to take you through how they come together to form a thriving ecosystem. How is Microsoft contributing to all of this? How did we culturally transform ourselves to become one of the largest open source contributors in the world? My job is to tell you the story of this transformation and also help developers, customers, and partners to innovate, learn, and grow on our platform. My name is Ravi, and I lead the Azure Business Group in India. My job is to make sure that you understand value proposition of Azure, value proposition of open source for Microsoft, and so on and so forth. Let me first share with you our mission. It is to empower every person and every organization on this planet to achieve more and do more. If you think about this, it applies to everyone from a professional developer who works in a software organization to an architect in a construction company. It also works for a CEO of a company to a chef in a self-owned restaurant and so on and so forth. That became a major part of our culture in Microsoft. So let me start with culture first. Today, we are collectively around 16,000 contributors on GitHub, and we use around 150,000 open source components each month when we build Microsoft products. With this, we are one of the largest corporate contributors, and it's again a reflection of the open source culture we are building at Microsoft. But if you think about this, open source is, although it is very mainstream, but it is still a club. And when I say it is a club, what it means is there is a price to the membership, and the price to the membership is actually contribution. And open source initiatives are standing tall with Microsoft with three important pillars. And I'll start with contribution first because that's the most important part to be part of that club. Open source, those three pillars are contribution, innovation, and enablement. Let me start with contribution, as I said. Microsoft contributes today to thought leadership, and we are around 8,000 non-Microsoft open source projects which we are dealing with. We have around 19,000 developers from 3,700 companies who come together and write code for .NET Core and open source repositories. And I want to stress in that we are all in together to this open source. Now I would want to move to innovation. Microsoft open sourced VS Code, which is one of the largest and most popular editor for developers, which was available earlier. And we made that open source. I'm very personally excited about R and PowerShell, which I use very extensively for myself when I write something on Azure within our system. I'm very excited about that. And the third pillar is primarily about enablement. Here, I'm not speaking as an Azure product manager. I'm speaking as a user, as an evangelist, more so, primarily because every solution which Microsoft makes, for example, Azure by far makes open source projects easier for everybody to use. Because they improve security, they improve manageability, and they preserve the open APIs. So every developer and business today can actually pick up these solutions and build without having to worry about security, privacy, and so on and so forth. Solutions like Kubernetes, solutions like MySQL, PostgreSQL, Redis Cache, Spark, and more have today natively integrated with Azure and with full open source API compatibility, which means that you should be able to go in and out of the solution as and when you want. Outside of all of this, the platform should be able to support a large partner ecosystem, and it should coexist with the organizations like Red Hat, SUSE, which power many of the businesses today. And we also have to make sure that there are enough ISVs who provide OSS solutions so the platform allows more innovation and many organizations can build better on that solution. With this, I would want to move to Satya's quote on open source, which strikes the best, and I thought this made sense for you all to see on this. And look at a journey on open source overall. Enterprises should be committed and contributing resources to communities and project to accelerate OSS innovation. And we are seeing that everywhere, whether we are talking to our customers, when we are talking to our engineering folks internally, this entire shift in our engineering to become open have taken a very important path in our company. And that's an important aspect. And finally, I would want to close that by saying that Microsoft loves open source. And that's an important thing for us to move on. Let me quickly shift gears and talk a little bit about developer ecosystem. And if you notice, the tech hiring is changing quite a bit. And this is a quotation again from Satya, uh, who talks specifically about the non-tech industry is hiring 11% more than last year, and that's a very important change, which is what we're seeing. And if you think about this, companies like Ola, Uber, Flipkart, InMobi are very, very large software companies, apart from the businesses which they operate in. Non-tech industry, for example, whether it is a car making company or whether it is a oil refinery, they're relying a lot more on analytics, research, and more and more development, and to make sense out of the data which they're collecting in geospatial or underneath. So their objective is to make sure that there is enough number of there is a big shift which is happening in terms of the technology and software which we are seeing through. And we need to have a lot of smarter people to bring that innovation, sometimes disruption, and almost every time an improvement in whatever stuff which we are doing today. Hence, they need a lot of developers, they need a lot of scientists, they need a lot of analysts and researchers, and all of them need to know tech in some form or the other. And then there is another shift which is happening, and I just want to make it 20 years ago when I started working, when I was writing code, decision making was a lot more top down. Today, however, developers are very key influencers. We are seeing them deciding the technology which the company is going to procure. And if you think about this data, it's already showing 59% of professional developers are the key influencers who help buying decision, who help making decisions in order to buy new software. And that's going to keep increasing. And if you think about worldwide, we're not very far behind. If you think about that, the number is around 65. And that's the section which the blue section is the one which I'm stressing a lot more upon. While there is no question that developers will play an important and vital role in value creation, growth across every industry which is possible. And in a way, developers are the builders of our era, and they're writing the world's code on which it is going to run 5 years from now and 10 years from now. So they are the heart of innovation. But to become truly digital, every company needs to build a culture. And that's where I started from. Microsoft changed, and I stress a lot about contribution and culture, because that needs to change into every organization. What we internally understood is that empowering developers to achieve more is very, very, very important. And developer velocity is the underpinning of every organization to improve the tech intensity of the organization. So if we define it for ourselves as well, like we do it for everything else, we always create 3 pillars, and we created 3 pillars for this as well. So first pillar is primarily focusing on to developers to build productively, build automation, create good tools, give them space to fail, space to rebuild, space to retry, and so on and so forth. At the same time, we had to make sure that every collaboration is secure, so that they don't have to worry about how the data and the code is transferring between 2 different teams or communities or people. So, and this doesn't have to be within the team. This has to be beyond the team. It is broadly with the larger communities. It is beyond to increase the collaboration across everybody else. Finally, allowing the developers ladder is to scale for innovation. Professional developers needs to create building blocks so that non-professional developers but domain experts needs to build on top of them. I'll stress about this a little bit later in the slide as well, and that has become a very important aspect. I mean, I used to be a developer, but no more a developer today. I'm called as a citizen developer today, and that's what I relate mostly with. It is amazing to be working in tech today. Because it is cloud, we're able to innovate and release new tech more easily. But everybody has questions. Everybody has questions about what's going on. Is my cloud going to deliver what it is? I'm expected to be an expert on this subject, but I'm not able to learn as fast enough. Maybe I'm still falling behind. I want to make stuff which is not getting hacked. So coming back to the club again, if you think about this, the slides are not moving fast enough. Coming back to the club again, it is our job that when we get into the club, our first and foremost aspect to be a platform provider. Not to make me or you or anybody to relearn something new we already did so far. The platform is like a large ground. Every sports equipment needed is available at the corner of the ground. Every jersey you like to wear is available at the shop. You walk in with your team, pick up a game, could be cricket, could be football, could be anything. Pick up a jersey, pick up a tool such as a cricket bat, and start playing. You may start with a gully cricket with a tennis ball, or you can move into an IPL scale IPL style scale solution, cricket tournament. But everything what you need to do is available in that ground. And that's what a platform provider is expected to provide. To do this at test and dev level, and to be able to do this at the scale, the example which I talked about is an IPL level scale, the platform should be able to provide all of that. But as a provider, as a platform provider, we have to have a big idea. The idea is primarily to help people build. And let me just share that idea with you. The idea is to build UI-less, context-aware, hyper-personalized solutions. Let me explain a little bit more. When I used to write apps, I used to write text boxes, lists, drop-downs. I mean, these are web applications which I used to write, radio boxes to search, to query, to retrieve stuff from faraway databases. I don't see developers writing code of that kind of stuff anymore. Of course, they're still in that direction. Some are still in that direction. But what has changed is the set of devices which you have in your hands today. Almost all of these devices can hear you, can talk to you, can take instructions. So just to give you an example, to just put this point through, say I'm the VP of an organization, and I ask my senior manager of procurement, what happened to those 2,000 red balls we ordered from that red ball company? What do you think the senior manager is going to do? He or she will run to a computer, search for a PO number, put a PO number in an application, which will say something like enter 10 more fields, then I'll tell you what happened to the red balls you ordered. And then finally you found out that the procurement executive, say Kiran, never did X, Y, and Z things which they were supposed to do. Then you find out that Kiran did not do this job because Kiran was on sick leave for last 10 days. If you think about this, apps doesn't need to be so grumpy to give this information. I mean, think about this. Today, instead, what if I as a VP asked my phone, hey Siri, tell me what happened to 2,000 red balls which I ordered from Red Ball Company? The most amazing answer which I can expect from the phone to give me is that the PO was raised 10 days ago. Kiran couldn't follow up as he's on a sick leave for last 10 days. He normally is very quick in such matters. In the meantime, I can raise an urgent request with Red Ball Company. We can still get delivered on time. Should I call Kiran so that you can check how is he doing now? Now, suddenly what has happened is a plain request, probe, response, action kind of a solution has moved into a request, action, empathy, action model. And why did I mention this? I mean, there's a big difference in all of this. In the previous scenario, we had to go to a web application to be able to ask that basic question, to be able to ask that question and fill up 10 items. That's no more a priority today. What the priority today is to become more empathetic, more understanding of the resolution, understanding of what the response the application is going to give you. And that's the new application pattern in developing. To be able to do this, the application needs to work first UI-less. I mean, that's the word which is there. Second, they need to know who you are very well and where do you come from. They should know that this was VP of an organization who is asking this question. He or she has the context to take action. The application knows from the context that Ravi has the method to take action. And if Ravi says yes, should you take action, and so on and so forth. So technically, the application understands who is Ravi, where is he coming from, what's the question, what is the solution which you can expect out of this, and all of this is UI without having to put anything. What did you ask? You asked 2,000 red balls. What happened to those 2,000 red balls which I ordered from Red Ball Company? Now, this has become a very important aspect, and you would expect the platform should have tools, services, integration which can work together, have intelligence so that they can do all of this together, has infrastructure to support such integrations, has infrastructure to be able to give you that kind of collaboration between applications. I mean, I might have a MySQL which is running today, might be running on a different web app, and I should be able to talk to these two and connect my analytics running on Hadoop, for example, should be able to talk to each other. And all of these integrations should be made available into the same platform so that you can do better out of all of this. And this is a design pattern, and we should be able to provide you tools, platforms, the serverless platform as a service, and of course infrastructure to be able to scale and do well at much larger scenario. But while all of this is happening around, I mean, think about this. Everybody has a device today. You're talking to your devices. You will be able to talk to your devices, and you'll be able to ask these questions about purchase orders or engagements or opportunities which are happening, or how many people did turn up today for this event. All of these questions needs answers. So they need integration. So all of these is adding two important things. One, they're asking for They're generating too much of data, and they're asking for too much insights out of data. And it is becoming very difficult to manage. And unfortunately, resource limits are reaching every day. I can't really, recall any of my app developer friends, including myself, who did not break one of their keyboards in their life in anger. I mean, because things don't work, operating system challenges, hardware failures happen, and they affect that work. And people throw the keyboards out of the window. So it becomes very important for us to look for scale, look at scale and scale of compute, and save as many keyboards as possible, just to make sure that we don't lose the track of how developers can build better in the future. But we have to also make all of this available in different packages, so that they're available for you in a package which you like. We have to make them into containers. We have to make them into make the scale and capacity and compute power into databases we build. We have to make sure that each of the solutions which we sell you or give it to you has a good intelligence out of all of this. And then on top of it, make it serverless for you. Of course, we have a server in the backend which is hidden behind, but it is still serverless for you. But that's the overall packaging scheme, and we have to make sure that all of this is available in two important forms of open source, which you have traditionally used, you like to use, you have always used, that don't have to change or relearn something new completely. You are okay with running MySQL, PostgreSQL, Cassandra, the stuff which you have always been always like to use it and effectively used it in the past. Continue to use it as it is, just not worry about the scalability challenges and compute challenges and break your keyboards and so on and so forth. Third one, we give you more number of frameworks, whether it is TensorFlow, whether it is Onyx, or whether it is anything, just to make sure that you have all of this information available with you without having to rewrite stuff. And we also give you ready-made APIs, ready-made solutions, so that you can do all of this by yourself. And at the end of it, have all of this made available so that you can plug and play multiple different solutions to make sense out of the information which you are getting out of your solutions there. But that's not the only issue which we look at. As I mentioned earlier, organizations need more analysts, developers, researchers, scientists. There need to be more thinkers who can come together. Not all of them can speak the same language or same linguistics. Not all of them understand the same stuff. Not all of them can type fast, for example. Not all of them can code as well as you can. So there is amazing amount of skill gap which we keep seeing it. I remember the coffee conversation which I used to have 15 years ago in canteens with a business analyst. Of course, we used to work on the same projects, me as a developer and the other person as a business analyst. That's very different today. Even though they had same purpose and same intent, we would speak different languages. When I say different languages, the wavelengths are different. The tech intensity was very different. The way we used to speak to each other was very different. We're solving the similar set of problems together. And that's where the skill divide shows up much bigger. And that skill divide needs to be fixed. A platform should be able to bridge that gap, create a channel for communications, and where both of these sites can actually contribute to each other. And that's where the platform should be able to provide tools, services, and APIs to both help citizen developers on the right, which is primarily the set of people who can use simplified tools to be able to use and put them together to make some solution so quickly so that you can solve an organizational problem. At the same time, you need professional developers on the extreme left-hand side who will write code on the tools which they like, on APIs and the services which they would do, so that they can create more building blocks for the citizen developers to be able to bring that together. So today, we have become, as a platform company, an amazing connectors between these two different kinds of personas in the organization. And if you think about this, in Microsoft, I mean, I today relate myself to a lot more to a citizen developer than being a professional developer. I'm able to build a lot more solutions, and for small things like my personalized things. I get an email, I want to do something out of this. I should be able to automate that entire process. I don't have to write big code anymore. I don't have to learn Outlook APIs anymore. I just need to learn a small piece of solution which should be able to help me as a citizen developer. At the same time, I have a set of people. I know a set of friends and people who are working a lot more to make that solution ready-made available for me to pick and choose those solutions for me. And that's the big change which we are talking about by democratizing development across the organization. And it has become very, very important. So you might relate to one of these two, being your persona. You might have been a developer in the past like me, and you would have moved on to the right-hand side. where you still like to code, you still like to do certain things, but you're not able to because things have moved really fast. We still have something available there. At the same time, there are a lot of professional developers who make this on a regular basis, who have been growing their persona by writing different communities, different codes which they have built in the past, and they should be able to get all the solution stack which they were able to get. So our approach is to give you Azure as a platform for you to develop, build, learn, test any solution you have contributed. And for that, we provide different sets of solutions. So it could be an edge solution. I mean, I keep making this joke very often. A Tesla car, for example, cannot make a decision to go to cloud and come back and respond to an object right in front. It's so assuming that the car is moving on the road at say 80 kilometers per hour, and suddenly it sees a cow in front of the road. It should not wait for cloud to respond and give analytics as to why that is happening. So you have to make the edge intelligent. You have to make the reality on that car. So you need to have solutions which are going to make that car more intelligent by itself. And that car is, apart from the engine, the lithium-ion battery, or the traditional engine, is also an intelligent solution, which means it's an intelligent server by itself who's going to make sure that computing can be done on that solution. And that's set of solutions which are provided as a platform for us. At the same time, we have to make the applications which we have built in the past for last 10 to 15 years to become more agile, more UI-less, more context aware, much better for people to be able to respond and react to it. The serverless infrastructure is being available. Serverless and the infrastructure has been made available in order to make that happen. Apart from all of this, we provide the first party and the third party tools available so that you don't have to unlearn anything before you come in and use the stuff which you always like to use in the past. So our approach is also be part of the community and make those communities grow. Apart from all of this, we have to also make that we support everyone on our platform. While this chart might look very different 2 days from now or 10 days ago, this might be very different. But our objective is to make sure that every solution which you have used in the past or you're going to use in the future have a trace of that available on us, so that you can pick and choose from them and keep running that. We are growing very good on Azure platform with respect to Linux. We are going very good on the open source software which are running on a platform. But as we move along, we have to make sure of all of these services are made available for you as is, without you having to unlearn and change anything for you. We talked about Microsoft mission earlier, and now GitHub comes along, and it is built for developers to learn, share, together build software which you have seen in the past. At the same time, I would want to change the mission statement which we said earlier, and at the end of it, empower every developer and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And that continues to be for every person, every developer, every BDM, a business decision maker, or a technical decision maker in the organization or outside the organization, or professional developers who are self-reliant by themselves, that they have enough to be able to do on our platform. To learn more about this, you can go to Azure Leak Cloud Computing Services, aka.ms Azure Leak Cloud Computing Services, and please review as to what new announcements have come through for open source, for developers, for anybody if you are in any of those personas. This is the website, and you should be able to look at that as well. So I would like to close this talk with this closure, and I wanted to mention back again, saying that our objective is to make sure that Microsoft is available so that you can build, turn walls into doors, open what's possible on our platform, and that's how I would like to close this talk. Thank you very much for hearing me. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhakar. That was wonderful. Thank you for delivering. We thank Microsoft and you for delivering the keynote at Open Source 2020. Before you go, sir, we have certain questions if you would like to take them.
Of course, yeah.
Sure. So when we talk about delivering open source innovation in the cloud, if you can tell us 5 things that every developer should keep in mind, the 5 must, or I must say the 5 musts for delivering open source innovation in the cloud.
5 things they should do open source. Okay, so first of all, cloud is an enabler, and I want to demystify that a little bit. Cloud is an enabler to make sure that there are enough, they can write enough, they can do enough on our platform. So effectively, when I say that, I'm sorry, let me just remove these captions. Cloud is primarily an enabler to be able to do that. Innovations are problem solving approaches, or disruptions which you bring along as being a person in the organization. So I don't want us to take this fact that cloud comes in and you will be able to innovate suddenly very differently. I mean, it's the objective of that is to enable you to think little differently. So that's the overall idea. But having said that, when you look at cloud, how innovations can be made available is by looking at what can you quickly do, which you are taking to do longer on our platform without having to change much, without having to do anything very differently. Which means that if you were writing a model to learn some data and identify some insight out of it, can you do that without having to rewrite something? Can you do that by reusing a solution which is available? And cloud is able to do that because it's giving you two important things: ready-made model, ready-made compute, ready-made data for you to test out and play around and do something. That's one important most thing. The second is you don't have to worry about scale and size of data scenarios anymore because you are not constrained with that thought process. So you have both of these available to be able to take that and proceed ahead. The third one is the amount of stuff which has been done by Microsoft and communities and everywhere. We should be able to reuse that. Like, for example, I mentioned one aspect that Microsoft uses almost 150,000 different solutions which are in open source while building our product lines. And those are important because when we pick up these solutions, what we do is we embed that into our solution stack and proceed ahead and try to solve those problems. So reusability is the third most important thing. And the fourth one is you think about an idea and make sure that you discuss that with large number. And I talked about this importantly, and the culture and community contribution is a very important aspect which is just continuously growing, and cloud is actually enabling that quite a bit. Is that you should be able to discuss and throw off your idea and discuss that back with a large set of people through communities, through Microsoft communities, through open source communities, and have that tested out very easily. So that's a key important aspect I would want to close at. So those are 5 important areas which you should look at while delivering open source innovation on cloud.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhakar, for answering that. The next question is, what kind of support does Azure offer when somebody is moving from other platform to Azure?
Okay, so there are quite a few things. In fact, when it is so, there are solutions which we provide. First of all, if you're running a solution on any other cloud provider or even on-premise or even on your desktop computer today, when you migrate to Azure, there are tools available from Microsoft which will help you to do as is migration as it is, which means that it is a simple lift and shift. You should be able to assess what you have today, where do you want to go, how do you want to migrate, what are the steps which are required to do so. So there are 4 or 5 key steps, and we have something called Cloud Adoption Framework and well-architected reviews which are available for you to identify how do you strategize and plan your migration from a solution A or a platform A to a platform B, which is Azure, and you'll be able to use all of those steps in order to get there. So we have tools available, guidance available, flexibility available for you to assess the current stack, and tools available for you to review once the solution has gone into the production in the target platform on Azure, to review whether that is working well for you or not. So effectively, all of that is available for you to be able to use that. So we have Azure Migrate is one important tool. Cloud Adoption Framework is the second framework and the tool which we have. And the third is well-architected framework is the third. Once you have migrated and you can review how did you migrate, is there some optimization you can do, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sudhakar. We have a question from somebody in his student years who's studying. The question is, if as a student or a beginner, as somebody who's just learning open source, where should I start to understand end-to-end cloud development?
As a student, if you want to learn, and to be very fair, I wouldn't, and thank you for asking that question, because I guide few of my cousins and my friends and their children as well. Primarily, while coding, don't get associated to one group or one section. And I personally feel that you have to learn better when you associate to multiple different communities and identify as to where you can learn all of these from. One source which I would tell you is to go to opensource.microsoft.com. That's one place where you can go and you can learn about what we are developing, how we are contributing to the open source, and what you can do on our platform, and so on and so forth. But that's one. I don't want you to just keep it at that, right? I mean, there are various different communities where you can add yourself as. Most of the cloud providers as well, and you as a student, I think you should try to understand, what everybody offers discreetly, what solutions are available today in the market, and what you would want to build at some point of time. Learn uh, as many new frameworks which are available. Keep your options open, because trying to, like, for example, when I started, 19 years ago, when I started my development, I think it was a top-down approach. That somebody gave me Oracle Forms, and I had to develop my software on Oracle Forms for the next foreseeable 2-3 years, and at least 5 or 6 projects were delivered through that. I didn't have a choice at that point of time. I didn't have information available. I wasn't part of as many communities to be able to learn that better. Microsoft, as a developer ecosystem, we run a lot of communities, and we are participating in many of those communities. I think you should join them. One of this community, as we're speaking on this current platform, you should join them. You should try to understand as to what they are contributing, how they are contributing, what kind of conversations they're bringing along, and that's going to help you just open your horizons and understand what all things can you learn and get into, and then you can choose one niche platform which I think you relate a lot more with, and you can grow into that platform while also learning and keeping abreast with everything else which is happening around. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sudhakar. I would request our audiences, if there is any other question, now would be the right time to ask. So before, if you can throw some more light on the kind of data center we have, this question, I don't know whether you would like to take it or not, but the question is, how feasible is it for small scale businesses to use cloud services provided by Azure?
It's actually quite useful, and let me give you an example of me and the businesses where I've been associated with. And this question is very pertinent right now. So because while a lot of my day work goes into conversation with enterprises, large organizations, organizations which are a little bigger, and so on and so forth, but I also relate and work with a lot of smaller organizations. An organization which includes 5 people, 6 people. People who work with me contribute and work along with many companies who are a single person organization or a 5 people organization, and so on and so forth. All of these people can look at Azure in different facets. And if you think about this, if you were to build a new application and not worry about how do I manage my databases, how do I manage my operating system, how do I patch my systems, and so on and so forth, you probably don't need that when you look at Azure. You pick up an app service, deploy something which you like as a code, just move on from there. And all you do is let Microsoft take care of all of those platform behind activities. Whether pick up a serverless solution, you want to use Apache, for example, pick up that, start using it as it is. I mean, you don't have to necessarily worry about large scale systems and managing that systems and so on and so forth. A lot is taken care by Microsoft for you. So effectively, you should be able to think about. So, for example, if you were to run a PostgreSQL on Azure, a simple solution would be, and it can be a small application for a 100 people company internal stuff, or it might be a B2C application, or it might be a scalable application which can go and touch, say, for example, millions of people. But you're still a 5 people company. It doesn't really matter. So what you do is you look at the same PostgreSQL on Azure, a managed service which is provided by, and you just run that. You can run that in an infrastructure as a service, and you manage everything around it, or you can run this on Azure and use Citus in order to get the massive scale which it offers you today. So you will be able to do, whether it's a small company, large company, look at your solution, and there is different t-shirt sizes available for you to pick up which solution makes most sense for you, and you use that as it is. I personally, for example, whosoever comes to me for guidance, I just pick up the most easiest and the simple solution. And since scalability is built into the platform, you can keep increasing as you go by. So I start a solution with, say, for example, 1,000 rupees a month, a kind of a solution which is only going to run for, say, 5 hours a day, a single virtual machine with something which is running inside. And I can keep growing as I grow and test out my solution and create the website and eventually scale up to, say, for example, a 20,000 rupee per month kind of solution over a period of time. So you have the smallest of the servers to a largest of the servers, whichever you would need. You have the smallest version of the PaaS service to a largest of the PaaS service, and these are automatically scalable, elastic for you to be able to build and expand around, and at the same time build any solution on top of this as well. I hope that answers your question.